Listen to me. Everybody wants freedom to wake up when they want, to live how they want, to succeed how they want. But let me tell you the truth. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel. Freedom comes from holding yourself accountable to what you said you were going to do. You think accountability is a punishment. You think discipline is a prison. Well, I'm telling you, the real prison is living life with regrets. Living life knowing you could have done more, been more, achieved more, but you didn't because you refused to hold yourself accountable. Accountability is you saying, I owe me. Accountability is you waking up and remembering your dreams before you remember your excuses. Accountability is you checking yourself, correcting yourself, and pushing yourself without waiting for anybody else to do it. You want freedom? Freedom from stress, freedom from fear, freedom from average. Then listen to me. The moment you take full responsibility for your life is the exact moment you unlock your future. No more blaming your past. No more blaming your environment. No more blaming your family, your job, your friends, your circumstances. Winners don't blame. Winners don't complain. Winners don't point fingers. Winners look in the mirror, and the mirror becomes the mentor. The day you stop running from accountability is the day life stops running from you. When you hold yourself accountable, your results change. Your circle changes. Your confidence changes. Your whole life elevates. You want success. You want greatness. You want peace. You want peace. Then take ownership of your decisions, your actions, your habits, your mindset. Because accountability is not the enemy. It's the key that opens the door to your potential. And hear me. Once you embrace accountability, nobody can stop you. Not fear, not failure, not doubt, not your past, not people. Because a person who takes ownership becomes unstoppable. So today, make a decision. Stop running from responsibility. Stop hiding from discipline. Stop negotiating with your goals. Stand up. Own your life. Grow through the pain. Rise through the pressure. You want freedom. Earn it through accountability. Remember, accountability is not a burden. Accountability is the birthplace of freedom. Self-ownership is the starting point of success because nothing in your life truly moves, truly shifts, truly changes until you decide to take control of what you think, what you do, and who you become. Look, for years we've been taught to believe that life happens to us, that our circumstances define our possibilities, that our environment determines our success, that our past dictates our future. But I need you to understand something deep, something real. The moment you take ownership of your life is the moment your entire story changes. Ownership is not about blaming yourself. Ownership is not about guilt. Ownership is not about saying everything is your fault. It's about claiming your power. It's about recognizing that even if what happened to you wasn't your responsibility, what happens next absolutely is. People go through life waiting for the perfect time, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to rescue them, validate them, motivate them, or push them. But waiting is the slowest form of losing. When you wait, life passes, opportunities pass, years pass, and you look up one day and wonder why nothing ever changed. But the truth is, things don't change because you want them to. They change because you take ownership of them. Success is not an event, it's a choice. Thousands of choices stacked on top of each other. And every one of those choices begins with you standing in the mirror and saying, I am responsible for my life. I'm responsible for my effort. I'm responsible for my growth. I'm responsible for what I do next. People will hold on to excuses like life rafts, not knowing those excuses are the reason they're drowning. I didn't grow up with much. Nobody supports me. My family doesn't believe in me. I'm tired. I have no time. Things are just too hard right now. And I get it. Life can be unfair. Life can be heavy. Life can be painful. But excuses may comfort you for a moment, while ownership will change you forever. You can't reach greatness by protecting your limitation. You can't grow while holding on to the reasons you're not growing. When you blame the world, you give the world your power. When you blame your past, you let your past guide your future. When you blame others, you give them control of your success. But when you take ownership, full ownership, suddenly the power shifts back where it belongs. To you, ownership is freedom. It's freedom because once you accept that your life is your responsibility, you no longer have to wait for anything outside of you to change. You can change. You can move. You can push. You can start over. You can evolve. You can rebuild. You can become someone new without needing permission from anyone. Ownership says, I can't control what they do, but I can control what I do. Ownership says, I can't control what happened to me, but I can control how I respond. Ownership says, I don't need perfect conditions. I just need commitment. Most people don't struggle because they're incapable. They struggle because they refuse to accept how capable they truly are. They don't understand that power grows the moment you claim it. Some people wait for motivation. Ownership creates motivation. Some people wait for clarity. Ownership creates clarity. Some people wait for confidence. Ownership builds confidence. When you take ownership, you realize that progress doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from starting anyway. You cannot lead a life you are unwilling to own. You cannot correct what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot grow from what you keep blaming others for. Ownership requires honesty, brutal honesty, the kind of honesty where you admit the truth even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. You admit that you haven't been consistent. You admit that you haven't been disciplined. You admit that you've made excuses, wasted time, or avoided responsibility. And once you admit it, you don't drown in guilt. You use that truth as fuel. Ownership says, I see where I've fallen. Now watch me rise. Without ownership, success feels like a fantasy, something other people have access to, something you admire from a distance. With ownership, success becomes a direction, a path, a journey you begin walking with intention. You become a participant in your life instead of a passenger. You stop drifting and start directing. You stop hoping and start acting. Ownership transforms your mindset from a life is happening to me to life is responding to me. It's easy to blame circumstances because blame is comfortable. But comfort never builds character, strength, resilience, or greatness. Growth begins where excuses end. You don't get stronger avoiding responsibility. You get stronger by carrying it. You don't get wiser dodging challenges. You get wiser by facing them. Ownership is the foundation every success story stands on, every athlete who made it. Every entrepreneur who built something from nothing. Every student who rose from failure. Every person who transformed their life. They all have one thing in common. They own their journey. Ownership teaches you discipline because the moment you acknowledge that your habits are shaping your destiny, you become intentional about them. You stop waiting for someone to hold you accountable and accountable. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop compromising your standard. You stop telling yourself for tomorrow and start saying now. When you take ownership, priority replaces procrastination. Ownership teaches you resilience because when you take responsibility for your own success, failure stops being the end of the story. Becomes information, feedback, guidance. Lessons. You don't quit because things get hard. You adjust, you adapt, you learn, you continue. Ownership doesn't eliminate challenges. It prepares you for them. It gives you the strength to say, I can handle this. I can overcome this. I can grow from this. Ownership teaches you humility. It reminds you that improvement is always possible, that you don't know everything, that you can always evolve. Humility doesn't weaken you. It frees you from pride that blocks your progress. Ownership and humility walk hand in hand because both require honesty, both require courage, and both lead to growth. Ownership teaches you self-respect because when you take responsibility for your actions, you develop pride in your decisions. You walk taller. You trust yourself more. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You stop letting yourself down. Every time you follow through, you build self-respect brick by brick. You become someone who can rely on yourself. And that kind of confidence is unshakable. Ownership teaches you clarity. You begin to understand what you want, who you are becoming, and what you need to do to get there. You stop wasting energy blaming people who can't fix your life anyway. You stop waiting for apologies from those who wronged you. You stop expecting the world to hand you anything. With ownership, you shift from reaction to purpose. You shift from complaining to creating. You shift from wishing to working. Ownership is the foundation of leadership. Before you can lead anyone else, your family, your team, your community, you must be able to lead yourself. You must be able to hold yourself accountable. You must be able to push yourself. Leaders don't need someone else to wake them up, motivate them, or check them. Leaders take ownership of their time, their energy, and their life. And the beautiful thing about ownership is this: it's accessible to everyone. You don't need money to own your effort. You don't need a degree to own your attitude. You don't need a perfect background to own your mindset. Ownership is a choice that requires nothing but honesty and commitment. The moment you say, my life is my responsibility, everything open. Opportunities open. Growth opens. Your future opens. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and stop being the architect of your destiny. You stop seeing limitations and start seeing possibilities. You stop being controlled by what you cannot change and start mastering what you can. Ownership is the first step, the foundation, the spark, the beginning of every transformation. You cannot create a new life while clinging to the old excuses. You cannot step into power while holding on to blame. You cannot build freedom while rejecting responsibility. Self-ownership is the starting point of success because success requires commitment, consistency, courage, and character, and none of those grow without ownership. When you finally take responsibility for your life, you give yourself permission to change it. That is freedom. That's power. That is the beginning of everything you want to become. Excuses delay your freedom because every time you choose an excuse, you choose to stay exactly where you are. You choose to pause your progress. You choose to postpone your growth. You choose to lock the doors to your own potential. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think excuses protect them, comfort them, shield them from the pain of responsibility. But what they don't understand is that excuses are invisible chains. Chains that feel soft but keep you stuck. Chains that feel harmless but slowly steal your future. An excuse is not just a sentence. An excuse is a decision. It is a decision to settle instead of striving, to stop instead of starting, to wait instead of working. You can't grow if all your energy goes into justifying why you're not growing. And hear me clearly, excuses don't show up to help you. They show up to rob you. They steal your discipline, your drive, your time, your confidence, your dreams. Every day you spend explaining why you can is a day you lose from building what you can. People make excuses because excuses feel good in the moment. They feel safe. They let you escape accountability for a little while. But excuses have a cost, and that cost is your freedom. Freedom doesn't come from avoiding responsibility. Freedom comes from taking control of your life. Freedom comes from choosing effort over excuses. Freedom comes from showing up even when you don't feel like it. Excuses tell you, I take the easy way, but in reality, the easy way is always the longest way. You save comfort today, but you pay with your dreams tomorrow. Let me tell you why excuses are so dangerous. They disguise themselves as logic. They sound reasonable. They sound justified. They sound believable. I'm too tired, but I don't know how to start. The timing isn't right. People don't support me. I've tried before. I'm scared. And because excuses feel true, people treat them like truth. But excuses might feel real, but they are not results. You don't get success from what sounds true. You get success from what you do consistently. You have to understand that excuses don't come from your potential. They come from your potential said. Your potential said. Your fear says, oh, wait. Your potential says, oh, wait. Your fear says, oh, late. That is the real battleground. Not outside, but inside you. Freedom comes when you stop letting fear speak louder than your purpose. Every excuse you make strengthens fear. Every action you take strengthens your purpose. If you study people who made it, people who broke cycles, built empires, transformed their lives, you'll notice something. It wasn't that they had fewer problems. It wasn't that they had better support. It wasn't that they had more time, more money, or more confidence. It was that they refused to let excuses be bigger than their goals. They had reasons to quit, just like you. They had obstacles, just like you. They had fear, doubt, and setbacks, just like you. What made them different was their ability to look at an excuse and say, not today, not anymore. When you choose excuses, you postpone your breakthrough. You delay your growth. You push your blessings further into the future. You slow down the person you could be. You trap yourself in the same patterns, the same routines, the same frustrations. And instead of moving forward, you start circling the same spot. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, over and over again. Excuses keep you running in place. Working, but not progressing. Wanting, but not acting. Dreaming, but not becoming. The truth is, excuses always seem small in the moment and massive in the long run. Skipping one workout seems small, but skipping for a year becomes a lifestyle. Avoiding one difficult conversation seems small, but avoiding communication destroys relationships. Putting off one project seems small, but delaying your goals becomes a habit. One excuse may not ruin your life, but the repetition of excuses absolutely will. A single raindrop is harm, but a storm of excuses can flood your entire future. You need to understand that the freedom you want, financial freedom, emotional freedom, spiritual freedom, personal freedom, all of it requires one thing: responsibility. When you take responsibility, you take power. When you stop making excuses, you stop giving your power away. And the moment you stop giving your power away, your life begins to transform. You wake up with purpose. You wake up with clarity. You wake up with confidence because you trust yourself again. Most people don't realize how much excuses drain them. They drain your energy because deep down, you know you're capable of more. And pretending you're not is exhausting. You know you could do better. You know you were made for more. You know you're not giving your full potential. And when your actions don't match your ability, something inside you breaks a little. Excuses create internal conflict, the battle between who you are and who you could be. And nothing feels heavier than the weight of unfulfilled potential. Excuses don't just delay your freedom, they delay your peace. You cannot feel proud of yourself while running from your responsibilities. You cannot feel strong while protecting your weaknesses. You cannot feel confident while choosing comfort. True peace comes from effort, not avoided. Peace comes from progress, not procrastination. Peace comes from knowing you're moving forward, not standing still. Everyone has excuses. The successful, the unsuccessful, the wealthy, the broke, the motivated, the unmotivated. Everyone has reasons they can use to justify quitting. The difference is that successful people recognize that excuses are optional. Effort is optional too. But only one of them creates the life you want. The world does not stop you. People do not stop you. Circumstances do not stop you. Excuses stop you. Every time you must get comfortable being uncomfortable. Growth happens outside excuses. Freedom lives outside excuses. The life you want, the life you dream of, is on the other side of difficult choices. Excuses protect you from discomfort. But discomfort is where your transformation happens. It's where your strength comes from. It's where your greatest lessons come from. It's where your breakthroughs come from. You have to decide that your goals mean more to you than your excuses, because they can't coexist. Either your excuses win or your future wins. Either your comfort wins or your growth wins. Either your fear wins or your faith wins. Every day you get to choose. Every morning you wake up with the opportunity to say, "In today I'm choosing effort. I'm choosing discipline. I'm choosing progress. I'm choosing accountability." And I want you to really think about this. What has an excuse ever given you? Has an excuse ever brought you success? Has an excuse ever given you confidence? Has an excuse ever made you proud? Has an excuse ever made your life easier in the long run? The answer is no. Excuses give you nothing but regret. They give you nothing but missed opportunities. They give you nothing but the same results you've always had. But when you stop making excuses, life responds differently. Doors open. People notice. Your mindset shifts. Your energy changes. Your results begin to reflect your effort. Excuses are the enemy of momentum. They stop you right before the breakthrough. Many people quit not because they're incapable, but because they let one excuse interrupt their progress. They let one moment of weakness outweigh months of work. But if you learn to push through the moment when excuses scream the loudest, you will find that the other side is where real freedom lives. Freedom is expensive. It requires discipline, sacrifice, consistency, and courage. Excuses are cheap. They require nothing but your dreams as payment. And when you really understand that, you realize that choosing excuses is choosing to pay with your own potential. You owe your future self more than that. You owe your dreams more than that. You owe your purpose more than that. You are not meant to live a life controlled by fear, procrastination, or avoidance. You are meant to live boldly. You are meant to live powerfully. You are meant to rise above your excuses and step into the fullness of who you can become. Excuses delay your freedom, but effort delivers it. Action delivers it. Responsibility delivers it. You cannot control everything in life, but you can control your response. And that response determines your reality. The moment you say no more excuses is the moment your real life begins. That is when doors open. That is when confidence builds open. That is when momentum starts. That is when your life stops repeating and starts expanding. You have everything within you to become the person you dream of being. The only thing standing in your way is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't start yet. Change the story and you change your future. Release the excuses and you release your potential. Let go of delay and you step into destiny. Your freedom is waiting. Stop delaying it. Your words shape your direction because every sentence you speak is either building your future or breaking it. People underestimate the power their own tongue holds. They don't realize that the most influential voice in their life is not the voice of their parents, their friends, their teacher, their boss, or society. The most influential voice in your life is the one you hear every day in your own mind, your own words. What you tell yourself becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes how you behave. And how you behave becomes the results you experience. Your entire life follows the direction of your mouth, like a compass follows north. Words are not just sounds. Words are seeds. Every time you speak, you are planting something in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit. You're planting confidence or doubt, strength or weakness, fear or faith, persistence or hesitation. And the harvest you get depends on the seeds you plant. You cannot plant negativity and expect a positive life. You cannot plant fear and expect courage. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory. Your words are the blueprint of your mentality, and your mentality is the blueprint of your life. People talk themselves out of success long before life does. They say, I can't, and their mind shuts down the moment the words leave their mouth. They say, I'm not good enough, and their potential begins to shrink. They say, I'll never be successful, and their belief collapses. When you speak words of limitation, you start living a limited life. And the worst part is this. You start believing those limitations so deeply that you begin to defend them. You begin to protect your excuses. You construct entire identities around what you claim you cannot do. You will never rise above the story you keep repeating to yourself. If you keep telling yourself you're a failure, you will behave like one. If you keep telling yourself you're broken, you will never heal. If you keep telling yourself you're unlucky, you will stop creating opportunity. Because your mind always wants to align your actions with the narrative you believe. And if your narrative is weak, your actions will be weak. If your narrative is fearful, your actions will be fearful. If your narrative is negative, your actions will reflect negativity. But if your narrative is strong, if your words are powerful, your entire life begins to move with momentum. If you say, I can grow, suddenly growth becomes possible. If you say, I can change, your brain starts searching for ways to change. If you say, I will succeed, your mind begins filtering out distraction and focusing on solutions. Words create direction. Words create energy. Words create belief. And belief fuels everything. You have to be careful with what you speak because you are listening. Every day you are programming your mind with the language you choose. Your words are instructions to your subconscious. When you say, I'm tired, you feel more tired. When you say, I'm stressed, your body tightens. When you say, I can't take this anymore, your mind starts shutting down. But when you say, I've got this, something wakes up inside you. When you say, I will find a way, your creativity activates. When you say, I am built for this, your resilience rises. You cannot speak like a victim and live like a warrior. You cannot speak like a loser and win. You cannot speak doubt and walk in confidence. What comes out of your mouth eventually becomes the reality you step into. The wrong words can trap you. The right words can free you. Think about the difference between someone who says, someone who says, I get to. One person feels burdened. The other feels blessed. Same situation, different words, completely different energy. Words shift your perception, and perception determines your experience. Life feels different when you speak differently. Some people speak so negatively about themselves that they become their own worst enemy. They don't need anyone else to criticize them. They do it themselves. They don't need anyone else to discourage them. They discourage themselves. They don't need anyone else to tear them down. Their own words do the job. And what happens is they become prisoners to their own tongue. Their speech becomes a cage. You must become intentional with your language. You must become aware of the sentences you create. Because once spoken, your words create pathways in your brain. If you say something often enough, your mind starts believing it's the only truth. And once your mind accepts something as true, your behaviors follow without resistance. Think of professional athletes. They don't just train their bodies, they train their language. They speak confidence before they perform. They speak belief before they step on the field. They speak power before they compete. Because they understand that performance comes from the inside out, not the outside in. You cannot win externally if you are losing internally, and your words are the first battle you fight. Every transformation in life begins with a change in language. You have to stop saying I'll try, because trying gives you an escape route. You say I will. You have to stop saying I'm broken, because broken pieces can still build something beautiful. You say I'm he. You have to stop saying I'm not enough. You say I'm growing. I am learning innate. I am getting better. The language you use daily becomes the identity you live with. If you always say that's just who I am, you limit your growth. If you always say, things never work out for me, you subconsciously sabotage your prize. If you always say, I'm unlucky, you stop noticing opportunities that are right in front of you. Your life doesn't change when your situation changes. Your life changes when your vocabulary changes. Your future depends on the words you choose. Your mindset is built on the words you repeat. You cannot change your destination without changing your dialogue. Words can build bridges or walls. Words can open doors or close them. Words can drag you backward or pull you forward. You choose which direction they take you. You must begin speaking with intention, purpose, strength, and clarity. You speak what you want, not what you fear. You speak what you're becoming, not what you're struggling with. You speak possibilities, not limitations. Speaking positively is not ignoring reality. It is creating the mindset you need to overcome reality. When you speak the right words, you create inner momentum. And momentum is the most powerful force in personal growth. The right words help you take the next step, and the next step, and the next step. Soon, you start seeing progress. And progress creates belief, and belief creates discipline. And discipline creates transformation. Everything begins with your words. Imagine two people start the same journey. One said, I'm not sure I can do this. But the other says, watch me. They might have the same ability, but they don't have the same direction. One is moving toward doubt. The other is moving toward dominance. One is shrinking. The other is rising. All because of words. Your words determine whether you give up or get up, whether you break down or break through, whether you stay the same or evolve, whether you walk in fear or walk in purpose. You cannot lead a powerful life with powerless language. You cannot achieve big goals with small words. So choose better words. Speak life over yourself. Speak strength over yourself. Speak progress over yourself. Speak success over yourself. Speak gratitude. Speak gratitude. Speak healing. Speak potential. Speak purpose. Speak the future you want until your actions begin to match your beliefs. Your mouth is steering your life like a ship. Every phrase is a turn of the wheel. Every sentence a shift in direction. You can speak yourself into circles, or you can speak yourself into your destiny. You can speak yourself into peace, or you can speak yourself into anxiety. You can speak yourself into confidence, or you can tear yourself apart. You have to decide what direction you want to go, and then you must speak in alignment with that direction. Because your words are not just sounds. They are commands. Commands to your mind. Commands to your mind. Commands to your emotion. Commands to your actions. The world might doubt you. People might underestimate you. Situations might discourage you. But none of those voices matter as much as the voice inside you. If your inner voice is strong, nobody can stop you. If your inner voice is weak, nobody can save you. Strengthen your voice. Strengthen your vocabulary. Speak with intention. Speak with purpose. Speak with fire. Speak with conviction. Because when you change the way you speak, you change the way you speak, you change the way you think. When you change the way you think, you change the way you act. And when you change the way you act, you change your entire life. Your words shape your direction. And the direction you choose determines the future you create. There comes a moment in life when you realize that the world is not going to slow down for you, not even for a second. The dreams that once felt distant, unreachable, or even impossible begin to whisper to you, reminding you that they were never beyond your reach. You simply hadn't stretched far enough. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can keep blaming the world, your circumstances, your environment, your past, or your lack of resources. Or you can decide that today is the day you rise. Today is the day you take ownership of every inch of your life. The fourth keynote is about the shift that happens when a person decides they are done living small, done hiding from their gifts, done postponing their greatness for one day. Because the truth is, one day is not coming unless you create it. Nobody's going to give you permission to become who you were born to be. You have to seize it. Most people never succeed. Not because they don't have talent, not because they don't have potential, and not because they don't have opportunities. They fail because they let fear, doubt, distractions, and excuses drain the power that was meant for their purpose. They let their environment dictate their future. They let temporary comfort sabotage long-term greatness. They sit in rooms full of people who don't challenge them, conversations that don't elevate them, and habits that don't move them forward. They settle. They shrink. They compromise. They choose the familiar over the extraordinary, and they wake up years later wondering why nothing changed. The truth is simple. Your life does not change until you change what you tolerate. There is a part of you that knows you are capable of so much more. You feel it when the world gets quiet. You feel it when you watch someone else living the life you want. You feel it when you look at your own reflection and something inside you whispers, "This is not the best you." But you silence that voice because it's uncomfortable. Because if you acknowledge it, then you must do something about it. And doing something requires effort, courage, sacrifice, and discipline. It requires waking up earlier, studying harder, pushing further, and cutting off anything that weakens your energy. It requires you to stop playing victim and start playing victor. It requires you to stop being reactive and start being intentional. It requires you to stop waiting for motivation and start mastering consistency. Transformation isn't a gift someone gives you. It's a battle you fight within yourself. If you want to rise to your next level, you must understand that the journey won't feel good at first. Growth rarely does. The process will test you. It will stretch you. It will strip away all the layers you built to protect your insecurities. You will lose people who are comfortable with the older, smaller version of you. They will say you've changed, and you have. But that is the point. You cannot expect to become extraordinary while clinging to ordinary habits, ordinary surroundings, and ordinary thinking. The highest version of yourself is not created in your comfort zone. It is created in moments of pressure, discipline, sacrifice, and relentless commitment. Your future self is begging you to stop playing small. Every dream demands a price. Every goal requires payment in full, upfront, with no discount. The universe does not accept laziness as currency. It does not accept excuses, fear, or self-pity as substitutes for effort. If you want freedom, you must earn it. If you want success, you must chase it. If you want greatness, you must bleed for it. It's not enough to want it. You must be willing to work for it when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when you don't feel inspired, and especially when nobody is watching. Because the real work happens in the dark, behind closed doors, when the world is asleep, and you are grinding on your future like your life depends on it. That is where champions are built. That's where legacies are born. Anybody can work hard for one day. Anybody can feel motivated for a week. Anybody can get excited when things go well. But only a few will keep going when the excitement fades, when the applause stops, when the progress feels slow, when the results are not visible yet. The ones who keep going those days, those are the unstoppable ones. Those are the people who rise above the rest, because consistency compounds. Little efforts performed daily become massive achievements over time. Success is not a lightning strike. It is a slow burn. But most people quit before the fire catches. They underestimate the power of daily discipline because they want instant results. They want applause before they master the craft. They want the reward without the responsibility. But that is not how greatness works. You don't get to skip the grind. If you truly want to transform your life, you must begin by transforming your mindset. Your mind is the engine, and your life is the vehicle, if the engine is weak, the vehicle won't move no matter how beautiful it looks on the outside. You can dress well, talk well, act confident, but if internally you still doubt yourself, still fear failure, still believe you are not enough, you will sabotage your own progress. Your thinking creates your reality. Your thoughts become your decision. Your decisions become your habits. Your habits become your results. And your results become your life. Change begins within. You must begin telling yourself a new story. A story where you are capable. A story where you are worthy. A story where you don't quit. A story where you rise no matter how many times you fall. A story where you own your journey. Every victory, every mistake, every lesson. You must stop living in the memories of who you were and begin living in the vision of who you are becoming. You cannot drag your past into your future and expect elevation. What held you back then cannot be the blueprint for your life now. Reinvention is not betrayal. It is evolution. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not the ones who entertain you, flatter you, or keep you comfortable. You need people who push you, question you, provoke your greatness, and force you to aim higher. You need rooms where you are not the smartest, not the strongest, not the most successful, because those rooms are where growth happens. If you are always the biggest one in the room, you have stopped growing. Seek environments that stretch your mind, strengthen your discipline, and elevate your standards. Protect your energy like it is currency, because it is. Where focus goes, your future grows. One of the greatest lessons of this keynote is understanding the value of time. Time is not money. Time is more valuable than money because you can get money back, but you can get money back, time back. Every hour you waste is gone forever. Every day you spend procrastinating is a day stolen from your dreams. Every moment you choose comfort over purpose is a moment you can never recover. The clock is ticking whether you are working or not. You do not have forever. You do not have endless chances. You have now. And now is the only moment powerful enough to change your life. Use it wisely. You must also learn to embrace failure, not fear it. Failure is not a sign that you are unworthy. It is proof that you are trying. It is feedback. It is instruction. It is refinement. Every great person you admire failed repeatedly. They failed publicly, privately, painfully, but they kept going. They learned. They adapted. They grew. They understood that failure is a teacher, not an enemy. The only real failure is quitting. Everything else is progress disguised as difficulty. When you stop fearing failure, you become dangerous, because nothing can stop a person who is willing to try again. The fourth keynote reminds you to honor your future self with the choices you make today. Do the work that your future self will thank you for. Build habits that strengthen you. Choose discipline over excuses. Choose purpose over pleasure. Choose growth over comfort. Choose persistence over quitting. Choose to become the version of yourself you once believed was impossible. Every step you take toward your purpose rewrites your destiny. And finally, understand this. Your dream is waiting for you, but it will not wait forever. If you do not move, someone else will. If you do not claim your vision, someone else will step into the space that was built for you. The opportunity is real, but it requires action. It requires courage. It requires sacrifice. It requires belief. The world is not asking you to be perfect, just present, just committed, just willing to do the work. Your time is now. Rise. There comes a point in your journey where you must confront the truth that has been quietly shaping your life. The truth that you are the only one responsible for where you are and where you will go. This keynote speaks directly to that moment of realization. It is the moment you stop blaming the world, stop pointing fingers at circumstances, stop waiting for someone to save you, and understand that your life will change only when you decide to take full ownership of it. Ownership is not a word you say. It is a lifestyle you live. It is a mindset that refuses excuses. It is a commitment to stop negotiating with laziness, fear, and old habits. It is the moment you draw a line in the sand and say, enough. From today forward, my life is my responsibility. Most people never rise, not because they lack ability, but because they lack accountability. They want success, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. They want elevation without discipline, rewards without sacrifice, and progress without discomfort. They want to move forward while keeping all the old habits that hold them back. They want growth, but they don't want to uproot the behaviors that keep them small. They want transformation, but they don't want to release the identity they've gotten comfortable with. So they stay stuck, not because they're incapable, but because they're unwilling to confront the truth that growth demands change. You cannot hold on to who you were and expect to become who you are meant to be. This keynote reminds you that you must take inventory of your life. You must look at your habits, your mindset, your surroundings, your routines, your relationships, and your attitude with honesty, not emotion. Ask yourself, are these things helping me grow or holding me back? Are they empowering me or draining me? Are they building my future or destroying it? Many people fear this level of self-awareness because it exposes the uncomfortable truth that their biggest opponent isn't the world, it's themselves. But once you face that truth, you unlock the power to change everything. Self-honesty is the first step to self-mastery. The people who rise to greatness are the ones who decide that they will no longer be prisoners of their past. They no longer allow old mistakes, old environments, or old identities to define their future. They understand that the past is a place of reference, not residence. Your past teaches you, but it should never control you. Once you accept responsibility for your life, you reclaim your power. You begin to understand that you are not stuck. You are simply not moving. The moment you move, the moment you act with intention, everything begins to shift. One of the core messages of this keynote is that you must stop waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. Waiting for conditions to be ideal is the quickest way to let your life pass you by. The people who rise are not the ones who wait. They are the ones who start. They start when they are scared, when they are confused, when they don't have all the answers, when the path is unclear, when the support is inconsistent, and when the future feels uncertain. They don't wait for confidence. They build it through action. They don't wait for motivation. They create it by moving forward. They don't wait for things to be easy. They develop strength by doing hard things. There is a mindset you must embrace if you truly want to elevate. The mindset of relentless responsibility. This means you own your successes and your failures. You own your progress and your setbacks. You own your habits and your lack of discipline. You own your effort, your focus, your time, and your growth. You stop blaming your family, your friends, your past, your boss, your circumstances, or your environment. You stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? You stop saying, it's hard, and start saying, it's possible. You stop saying, I don't have time, and start saying, I will make time. This shift in language becomes a shift in mindset, and that shift in mindset becomes a shift in your life. The fifth keynote emphasizes that greatness is not an accident. It is not luck. It is not a gift given to a special few. Greatness is the natural result of consistent discipline. If you change your habits, you change your life. If you change your decisions, you change your direction. If you change your standards, you change your destiny. Every day you either move closer to your purpose or further away from it. There is no neutral. Every choice is a vote for the person you want to become or the person you want to leave behind. Most people fail not because they are weak, but because they are inconsistent. They work hard for a week and disappear for a month. They show up when it's convenient, not when it's necessary. They only perform when they feel good, not when it's required. But the people who rise are the ones who keep showing up. They show up tired. They show up overwhelmed. They show up discouraged. They show up unsure. They show up even when they don't feel like it. Why? Because they are committed, not interested. Interest gets started. Commitment keeps you going. Interest wants results quickly. Commitment works patiently. Interest fades. Commitment endures. To reach your next level, you must be willing to break cycles that have been holding you back for years. Cycles of procrastination, cycles of fear, cycles of distraction, cycles of negativity, cycles of self-sabotage. You cannot overcome what you are unwilling to confront. Every cycle you break becomes a door you open, a door to a new identity, a door to a new level of discipline, a door to a new level of focus, a door to a new level of success. But you cannot walk through a new door with old habits. You must be willing to let go. Let go of excuses. Let go of self-doubt. Let go of laziness. Let go of anything that competes with your purpose. The fifth keynote also reminds you that isolation is sometimes necessary for elevation. You cannot grow in the same environment that kept you small. You cannot rise while surrounded by people who have no desire to rise themselves. You cannot become disciplined while surrounded by people who encourage distraction. You cannot become focused while surrounded by people who live without direction. It is okay to outgrow people. It is okay to distance yourself. It is okay to choose peace over chaos, purpose over comfort, and vision over popularity. Your future requires separation. Greatness demands sacrifice. Another powerful truth from this keynote is that pain is part of the process. You will be uncomfortable. You will be challenged. You will face setbacks, doubts, and emotional battles. But pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. Pain reveals where you need to grow. Pain strengthens your resilience. Pain builds your character. Pain exposes your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. Pain shapes your identity. The people who rise are not the ones who avoid pain. They are the ones who learn from it. They are the ones who let their challenges refine them, not define them. You must also understand that progress is not always visible. Just because you don't see results doesn't mean nothing is happening. Seeds grow underground before they appear above the soil. Your efforts, your discipline, your late nights, your consistency, they are all working, even when you don't see it yet. Trust the process. Trust that every small step matters. Trust that every day you show up, you are building something powerful. Success does not happen suddenly. It happens silently, gradually, and then all at once. The keynote reminds you to stop comparing your journey with others. Comparison kills progress. Comparison kills joy. Comparison kills focus. Your journey is your own. Your timing is your own. Your pace is your own. Stay in your lane. Water your own grass. Build your own foundation. Honor your own process. What is meant for you will never pass you as long as you stay committed. Finally, the fifth keynote teaches you the truth that must stay with you for the rest of your life. You are capable of more than you think. You have strength you haven't used yet. You have potential you haven't tapped into yet. You have greatness waiting inside you, but it requires courage to unleash it. It requires discipline. It requires sacrifice. It requires responsibility. Nobody can rise for you. Nobody can walk your path for you. Nobody can build dream for you. This is your life, your journey, your purpose. And it is waiting for you to step into it with full commitment. Everything you want is on the other side of responsibility. Everything you desire is on the other side of discipline. Everything you dream of is on the other side of the work you've been avoiding. Stand up, decide, act, commit, rise. There comes a moment in every person's life when they recognize that the people around them are either pushing them forward or pulling them backward. The sixth keynote is a deep reminder that your circle has the power to shape your destiny, influence your mindset, and determine the level of success you will rise to. You cannot expect to live a high-level life while surrounding yourself with low-level energy. You cannot expect discipline, ambition, and elevation when your environment is built on excuses, negativity, and mediocrity. The truth is simple. Your circle must match your standard. You cannot reach greatness if the people closest to you are comfortable staying average. You cannot cultivate a winning mindset when you're surrounded by people who don't value growth. You cannot unlock your highest potential while connected to people who are committed to staying in the same place. People often underestimate the power of influence. Influence doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it comes in the form of small comments, small habits, small decisions. Sometimes it looks harmless. Sometimes it feels normal. But over time, it shapes you without you even noticing. If you surround yourself with people who avoid responsibility, you start avoiding responsibility. If you surround yourself with complainers, you start complaining. If you surround yourself with people who waste time, you start wasting time. You pick up the habits, the language, the mindset, and the energy of whoever you spend the most time with. This is why the sixth keynote teaches you that growth requires awareness of who stands beside you. The people in your life will do one of two things. They will either push you toward your purpose or pull you away from it. There is no in between. If the people around you don't inspire you, challenge you, or elevate you, then they are lowering your standards. Many people stay stuck not because they lack talent, but because they are surrounded by the wrong crowd. They stay small because their circle thinks small. They avoid growth because their circle avoids accountability. They downgrade their dreams because their circle has no dreams of their own. You must be courageous enough to break away from people who no longer reflect the direction you are trying to go. There is a painful truth that this keynote reveals. You cannot grow while trying to please everyone. You cannot rise while trying to make sure nobody feels uncomfortable with your elevation. You cannot chase your purpose while holding on to people who fear change. Some people will get angry when you start evolving. Some will distance themselves when you begin prioritizing discipline over distractions. Some will criticize you when you start focusing on your goals. But understand this. People who are threatened by your growth were never meant to grow with you. Your elevation exposes their lack of movement. Your progress challenges their comfort zone. But none of that is your responsibility. Your responsibility is your own growth. Your vision will not fit